So yesterday, she has decided apparently that she's going to reach out to the Jewish vote by going on the air with Al Sharpton, the only American in modern times who has partially incited a pogrom. So that's always an exciting thing. So she went on with Al Sharpton, where she immediately pledged to push for a ceasefire. Now, if Israel had listened to Kamala Harris in Gaza, Yahya Sinwar would still be alive right now. She told them not to go into Rafah. They ignored her, and they ended up killing Yahya Sinwar. Here's Al Sharpton with Kamala Harris.
How would you move toward a ceasefire? What do you think the United States should be doing?
So first of all, look, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, but we have got to get this war over with. We got to get the hostages out. We need the war to end. In fact, we're sending Tony Blinken, Secretary of State, out next week to go and meet with the parties there. And the death of Sinwar, I believe, has removed an obstacle to that end. And so we've got to work at it, and we've got to work at it through diplomatic means, and that's what we intend to do. But listen, the reality of it is that the difficulty of it all is not new to any administration in recent history. And it cannot be the reason that we don't work at it around the clock and be vigilant.
Okay, so what exactly is happening? What exactly is happening is that she is providing space for terrorists to hold out instead of making a deal to release hostages. She continued along these lines, by the way. She says it's unconscionable what's happening in Gaza. Unconscionable for Hamas not to surrender. Hamas is still holding hostages. Unconscionable for Hamas to subject the entire Palestinian population to the wonders of its governance. Unconscionable for the IDF to go in and target terrorists who are currently holding Israeli hostages, and Americans, by the way. Here she was along these lines.
I remember in Selma, you made very strong statements about civilians being killed on both sides, and you stood up strongly on that. And I think that's a concern in all communities.
Well, I mean, listen, the number of innocent Palestinians that have been killed in Gaza, it's really unconscionable. And we have to be honest about that. And at the same time, listen, I will always stand in terms of Israel's right to defend itself. And we need this war to end.
I don't believe you that you will always stand with Israel's right to defend itself. You know who else doesn't believe you? Yahya Sinwar didn't believe you. According to the Wall Street Journal, in March, Israeli commandos seized a compound connected to Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas. They found uniforms, vests, submachine guns, binoculars, and a laptop. Sinwar messaged Hamas officials, urging them to refuse a hostage deal. Hamas had the upper hand in negotiations, Sinwar said, citing internal political divisions within Israel, cracks in Netanyahu's wartime coalition, and mounting U.S. pressure to alleviate the suffering in Gaza. Yes, that's right. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden somehow achieved the signal feat of strengthening the hand of Yahya Sinwar. Truly incredible stuff from this absolutely empty candidate. It's more on this in a moment. First, October 7th, of course, marked the one-year anniversary of the worst attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust. 1,200 Israelis were murdered. Over 250 were taken hostage. The war in Israel continues to rage on today. Missiles are flying. Tensions remain high. Our allies are under attack. It seems like every time you turn on the news, there's another crisis unfolding in the region. Israel and its people are facing attacks from enemies on all sides who want its destruction. But there's hope. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the ground, providing food, shelter, and safety to those in need during this crisis. Since the war started, thousands of reservists, everyday Israeli citizens, have left their families to serve the country. Soldiers have been injured. Their families need our support. Your gift of $45 today helps the fellowship provide food and other necessities to these families to help them survive. So here's what I would recommend you do right now. Go to benforthefellowship.org. They're doing amazing work. benforthefellowship.org to make a gift today. In the face of these many threats, the fellowship's ongoing work providing security to Israelis has never been more important. Remember, benforthefellowship.org. They're doing amazing work on the ground in the Holy Land for lots of families who are suffering and need. God bless and thank you. Check them out, benforthefellowship.org. The good news is she still has campaign surrogates like Mark Cuban out there saying, you know, it's great that she's still flip-flopping. Like that's really the important thing, is to recognize that flip-flops are now good.
You asked me specifically, what are the things about her that I agree with, that I support? I told you I didn't support the filibuster.
I was asking what other things that she's proposed in the past would cause you to campaign against her if she went through with it.
Yeah, I mean, look, what she did 4 years ago, just like Donald Trump and the oil thing. I mean, there's lots of things, that candidates change over a period of years. That's one of the great things about Kamala Harris. She's not an ideologue. Okay. She is open-minded. That's why she's changed. Donald Trump thinks he knows everything. He doesn't change.
Okay, so the fact that she's wildly dishonest and shifts all of her positions, but only for the press, that's a good thing, according to Mark Cuban. That's right, folks. So Kamala Harris, kind of like a bizarre layer cake of terrible. So you have the surface politician. She pretends to be a serious politician. She really is not. And underneath, you have a vacuum. And underneath the vacuum, you have the effect of some really, really bad policy. A terrible layer cake. But it's her image that they're trying to burnish. The problem for Kamala Harris is that her image is starting to fall apart. Because it turns out that once you get past the joy of Joe Biden not being the nominee, ain't nothing there. So Al Sharpton is trying to reinvigorate the joy for Kamala Harris by accusing men of being sexist for not backing Kamala Harris.
Do you think some of the resistance of some men, black and white, is misogynist? And are you proud to see that most Americans, even being polled, have no problem supporting a woman at all? And I'm one that lived from Shirley to Kamala in terms of these campaigns.
And I have an emotional reaction to you raising the point of Shirley Chisholm, because it is on her broad shoulders that I stand, and so many of us stand. And we have come a long way, to your point, and on your specific point about including the fact that I have the support of countless black men who are in elected positions, including I'm just this afternoon and 2 church visits today with the mayor of Atlanta. That being said, I think that you are absolutely right, that there is this narrative about what kind of support we are receiving from black men that is just not panning out.
Okay, so again, the idea underneath there is that you're a sexist if you don't back Kamala Harris. That is something that's also being pushed by a columnist for the New York Times today named John Della Volpe, the director of polling at the Harvard Kennedy School Institute of Politics, who conducts polls for PACs that support Harris and Biden. He's trying to figure out why young men are turning away from Kamala Harris. And his answer is because Donald Trump is a mean, bad man and men are bad and mean. Quote, Mr. Trump has tapped male anxieties by weaving a hyper-masculine message of strength and defiance into his broader narrative that undermines confidence in democratic institutions. And it's working. Aware that boasting about killing Roe versus Wade drove away young women, Mr. Trump zeroed in on campaigning on a larger share of the young male vote. In 4 years, he cut what was once a 19 percentage point Democratic margin among registered young male voters, roughly in half in our poll. His playbook, a masterclass in bro whispering. Championing crypto, securing the endorsement of Dave Portnoy, giving the UFC president Dana White, who embodies the alpha male archetype, appealing to many young men, a prime spot at the RNC. He has also cultivated relationships with simpatico comedians, pranksters, influencers, and Silicon Valley billionaires like Elon Musk. Okay, well, I mean, there is another reason why Donald Trump is appealing to young men, and it's because he doesn't hate young men. That would be the really big reason here. Turns out that Kamala Harris is not a unifying image. She is one particular type of image, and that is female-centric. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.